Oh, we're back. We're back, baby. All right, we're back. Sorry for my. So I got to excite myself. I've been doing a lot of videos today, just trying to get this content out for my people. But anyway, I'm up to inventory levels. So once we understand where we're in a market, we know we've done our due diligence, we know what's happening economically wise is a good indicator of economic drivers or industries that are performing, infrastructure projects, job creation. You've got the ugly duckling syndrome. We've looked at it from a bird's eye view of the town. I'm looking what's going on. We understand, okay, this looks like it's going to become a potential hotspot. What we're going to look at next. And there's a whole bunch of things, but one of the main things is inventory levels or stock on market. It can be known for as well. So inventory levels is understanding how much stock is coming to a given market. And what you want to be looking at is, I guess, if stock stopped coming to the market, so if all listings stopped and whatever existing listings are on the market at the moment, how long would it take for those listings to be sold in? So this gives you an understanding, are you too late to the party or have you rocked up early to the party? And you want to be rocking up early to that party because you don't want to be there too late because you missed out on all the fun. So this is something where we look at fundamentals, and there's a website, and we look at things like what is the percentage of inventory levels. And I'll explain a bit more how we calculate it, but there's websites that can do this for you so you don't have to do it all yourself. Now, the lower the number means the less supply to the market. So let's go to the next page. So anything that is from below 3 is a very strong seller's market. 3 to 4.9 is, it's a seller's market as well, but not a strong seller's market. Then you got your 5 to 6.99 is a balanced market. And then you got your 7 to 8.99 is a buyer's market, and then you got your 9s to your strong is a strong buyer's market, and anything higher is very high risk. Now, when we're looking at particular location, we want to target into your 3s. I would say, sorry, not 3s, your 4s to 6s, 7s, in between there, and we want to be looking at past history. So what we like to do, we like to get this calculation. So you get the total number of average listings divided by the total average sales per month, and you get a ratio. And what we do is I like to look at this because this is like a supply versus demand situation. We get things and we put it in spreadsheets. So I probably highly recommend you don't have to get every listing and average listing and total listing in a particular market, sales listing, I should say, and get that and put it on a spreadsheet. But you can use this website, which we use here, Suburb Trends. There's even propertynerds.com.au, which is a good website to use as well. But I guess what I want to just put a little understanding of what people may find, some of this data can always be a bit laggy because there's subscription data as well. So just keep that in mind. If there's subscription data, was always going to be a little bit up to date as well. But doing your own analysis and keeping everything in a spreadsheet file, it gives you an understanding you're tracking it. So you're looking at previous data. And if you're looking at something and you've got into a market and say it's a 9 or a 7%, you can start to see, okay, this market is a 7% at the moment. If I go back to past history, it was actually a 10 or a 12. And then you can start to see things are starting to happen. And this market, its percentage rate's dropping. So the more it drops and the closer it gets to 0, the more demand and the high demand and less properties come to the market, more capital growth. That's where scarcity comes in, FOMO comes in and prices get pushed up because there's low supply but high demand. This gives you an understanding of what's happening in the market here. So this is something to keep in consideration. And like I've talked on before about, your vacancy rate, your days on market, inventory levels, they all work in the same direction. So what I mean by that, you want your vacancy rates to be dropping. And at the same time, if you see your inventory levels dropping, and if you see your days on market dropping, there's a high demand, low supply. Now, I've talked on before, if you see 2 of these, so let's say you see your vacancy rate's dropping, and let's just say you see your inventory level starting to drop, but then you might see your days on market starting to creep up. And you start to say, what's going on here? And that can be a sign of maybe, more release of properties coming to the market. And it can be the other way around. It can be your days on market dropping, and it can be your inventory levels starting to drop, but then you start to see vacancy rates start to increase. And what happens is then there might be an oversupply of investors coming into the market, and might be an oversupply of rental properties. Or there's a releasement of properties, and a lot of those properties are rental properties, and now that's going to affect the rental market. The capital growth market might be booming, a lot of homeowners, but then, you're as an investor, you want to have the best of both worlds, because you need to pay down that debt. You want that property to be positive cash flow at the same time, no matter what it is, and then you want to make sure that that property is going to not affect your lifestyle. So you want the best of both worlds. And so when you're looking at these desirable locations, you want to make sure that you're ticking all these boxes. And these three things here these are the groundbreakers. These are something that you need to keep in mind. And you got to look at these things. They all mean, everything means different things. So if just say your vacancy rate, like I said, was dropping, and your inventory levels are starting to kind of drop, but then you see your days on market start to creep up, can be extra supplies coming to the market. Well, let's just say your days on market starts to drop, and your vacancy rate starts to drop. Inventory levels are starting to rise. An oversupply of stock. Maybe building approvals. There's a land release, and there's all these new developments happening, etc. So this is something that keep an understanding of what's happening in a particular market, and we don't want anything to affect our property or our investment decision of why we're investing here. So use this data as well. Use this website. And just have a play around with it. Get to understand what's happening in the market. It's super crucial. Keep things in spreadsheets. Look at past history. Know what's going on. And then it gives you an understanding, okay, I'm making a good informed decision of why I'm going with that market. And all these things they all have to stack up with each other. Your infrastructure project, job nodes, your LGA population growths as well, and your GDP, or export import goods, and stock on markets, and your renters versus owner occupiers. So everything works with each other. It all works with each other. So keep that in mind as well. And as well, thank you for watching this video.